I took so much from this world through my actions, through my negative actions that negatively impacted my life and everyone else's life around me. 9 months ago, I couldn't get myself off a bar stool. I was drinking every day, I was taking drugs every single day. And getting clean and sober was one of the hardest things I've ever done, but the most rewarding thing I've ever done. And this is my way of giving back, for one, but showing other people that if you turn your back on alcohol, if you turn your back on drugs, if you look out for help, this sort of thing is out there for you. You are capable of achieving anything.
But it wasn't all plain sailing after the first mountain, was it?
No.
What went wrong in that first cycle, and how did it affect the challenge overall?
So we got off to an excellent start. I went the wrong direction first. I came back, I doubled back to the group, found the group again. And then poor organisation purely down to myself. I allowed somebody lead me out who didn't actually know where we were going. And they just drove and drove, and I followed them, and they drove and they drove. The car that was behind me pulled up alongside me, stopped to have a drink in a gel, and he told me he has no clue where we are. We're 20 kilometers in the wrong direction, and we're gonna have to take some detours in order to get back to where we were. I had factored in rests. This just meant that I got less rest, but it wasn't any big deal. I was able to deal with it, I was able to handle it, I was able to get through it. It was what followed that was what really challenged me. 5 hours and 15 minutes of cycling done, 5 hours left, halfway through, halfway to peak 2. I'm tired, I've got cramp in my legs, I'm finding it hard to breathe for some reason at this point, which has never happened to me before. But we persevere, we push through. I love the challenge, I'm embracing the journey, and I'm loving every single second of it, and thank you all so much for the donations to this point. I haven't seen how much we've raised, but I got my phone in my pocket. It's buzzing each and every time a donation comes in, and that's like fucking fuel going directly into my veins. So keep those donations coming in, keep making a difference, and let's go! It was always about overcoming anything that I had to face throughout the journey, throughout the challenge. And this was just the first one of those things that I had to keep my cool, keep my composure, and just accept that it was a part of the challenge now and move forward, and a beautiful story for me to tell at the end. I'm in the final 20k, 102 kilometers done so far on the bike, 213 in total movement. And the extra 20k is really playing on my mind right now, and there's 3 lessons to be learned from this. I am in control of my thoughts. I am the one that's allowing the negative thoughts into my mind. I am the only one that can force the negative thoughts out through positive, reinforcing messages. I can keep going. I will keep going. I must keep going. Nothing changes. I still got to cover the ground. Number 2. Woo! I can't change what has happened. All I can do is react in a positive way. You cannot change the past, but you can start to change the future. Keep moving forward. Keep doing the things that positively impact your future. Right now, the only thing I can do is keep pedaling. And finally, you don't base a man on how he acts in the sun. You base a man on how he reacts to a little bit of rain, and baby, I'm dancing all the way to the top of peak 2. Woo! I think our outlook in life can very much come from the decisions that we're making in our lives. And I was making very, very negative decisions in my life. I was drinking, I was drugging, I was being unfaithful. I was lying about all of the things that I was doing to people. I started self-medicating with alcohol and drugs, trying to get away from the anger and the grief and all the other emotions that were just bottled up inside of me that I didn't know how to deal with. You know, along with the alcohol and the drugs came a lot of arrests, a lot of blue lights coming to the door. I ended up in prison. Suicide attempts, just some really, really tough times in my life. The positive changes mostly came in my mind, in my life, when I started to do the things that positively impacted my life. Like when I got clean and sober, it was a massive boost. And when I was able to look back and see where I had come from the hole that I was in, from the depression, the anxiety, the inability to break the cycle that I was in, drinking and drugging every day, every weekend heavily. Thanks for coming. We got a little bit of time to change over, maybe 45 minutes before we started the climb, but I was drained. Even at the start of that climb, I was physically drained. And it's not normal for me to be that tired. There was moments where I had to stop and continue to repeat to myself, this is who I am, this is where I want to be. Just keep repeating it. This is who I am, this is where I want to be. And when you continuously repeat that to yourself, you have no choice but to keep going. This is who I am, this is where I want to be. Again, that comes back to the positively reinforcing messages, the positive outlook, the positive perspective. Yes, I was exhausted. Yes, my legs were tired. Yes, I was hungry. But I was exactly where I wanted to be, and I was doing exactly what I wanted to do. I had no other choice but to get to the top of that mountain. This is who I am. This is what I want to do. There's nowhere I'm supposed to be other than right here, right now. There's nowhere I'm supposed to be. Doing this. Doing what I'm doing. Doing what I love. Halfway through. Well done. Well done. Thank you. Well done, Finbar boy. Great stuff. Everybody be seen? 3, 2, 1. P2, baby! P2 in the bag. Walking down to the car. Shins are sore, ankles are sore, feet are sore. Still struggling to get air deep into my lungs. These are just things that I knew I was going to face before I ever started. I knew there was going to be physical challenges, naturally. You're cycling, your first mountain is at 3:30 a.m. in the morning. You're cycling for 10 hours, over 200 kilometers, and then you're hiking up the highest mountain in Leinster. It was never going to be easy. It was always going to be physical challenges on the way up there. Sore knees, ankles, hips. You just don't know what it's going to be. And in that moment, I was able to overcome the weakness and keep persevering, keep pushing through and conquer that next phase of the challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah, we keep moving forward now. Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Keep it going.
Thanks very much. Appreciate your laugh. Thank you. Roland.
Well done, Mikey.
We keep moving forward, baby.
Yeah. Keep pushing.
Well done.
Keep
Thank
pushing.
you. Peak 2 complete. Just finished lugging a quill at the highest point in Leinster. The legs are tired, but I'm still excited. I'm still buzzing for this next section. I've got 3 great men with me, Christopher, Finbar and Jason. And I'm looking forward to pushing myself with people that I enjoy being in the company of. We have I have 242 kilometers done so far. By the end of this, we'll be over 500 kilometers. You have about 30 kilometers done of hiking so far. But what followed that was just a series of maneuvers and misfortunes.
He come back one of the lads after getting punctured.
Nearly there now. Go get a black one. Get it.
We were supposed to start our hiking from Dulac on the inland side of Mealray, which was within touching distance when I got a phone call to say we were going to have to go to Silver Strand because Dulac was just too much of a challenge for me physically, they said, and for the group that was with us. Now naturally, having not seen it, I argued the point that I'll climb up anything. I just can't spend another minute on a bike. We'd had spent 17 hours at this point cycling, and it was starting to break me mentally, but there was no issue with it. I was going to get to the end of it. I was still confident. I was just taken by surprise that the changes were made that late. And that put an extra 20 kilometers uphill into the wind to the other side of Mealray onto our cycle. Catching me in my weakest moment, Ty.
Yeah, but sure. Kind of has to be done. Literally with crutches.
My only crutch is my self-belief. To say this was physically demanding would be an understatement. This was probably the most grueling moment I've had physically in my life. You're climbing up to the top of the highest mountain in Connacht, having only slept for 20 minutes over the last 40 hours, having very little food inside your system, and just being carried by pure and utter will and determination just to get to the top of that peak. Nothing more was on my mind, nothing else, just get to the top of that peak. Oh man. Oh. Stop, Gary, bye. Thank you. Thank you. What more to do?
Well done, Gary.
Well done, Mike.
Oh man.
Well done, Mike.
Oh.
Well done, Mikey, bye.
Number 3, baby, in the bag.
Yeah.
I didn't want to face into getting onto the bike for an extra hour on top of the 20 hours that I was already going to have to spend on the bike. I would rather have hiked an extra hour than have to cycle an extra hour, but that was a grave, that put the nail in the coffin, that decision. Coming down the Dulac side of Mealray was complete and utter torture on my knees, my ankles, my hips, my soul. And I'm just lying in the back of that van, coughing up the dirtiest mucus I've ever seen out of my chest. I'm exhausted, I'm weak, it's black dark outside, it's raining, everything in that moment was going against me. How's your day going? I was falling asleep. I was very lucky to have somebody with me who stood behind me and kept grabbing my bag and holding me up. I was coughing, I couldn't properly breathe at this point, and that decision just sucked the life out of me.